here. It is wonderful to see the room packed. It's a little warm, but it's wonderful to see it packed. When I got up this morning, I was just so chipper and happy. My husband said, well, you're certainly in a good mood. I said, I am, because I am going to see my people. Because seeing other people that are committed to this task, which is daunting, that we have right now, of pushing back and saving our democracy, is invigorating. It is so good for me, and I'm sure you all feel the same. Clap if you feel the same way. So I'm going to show you a picture, and I'm going to pass this around. When it reaches Ginger, take it over to this side, and take a close look at the woman that I want to talk about today in our PEG Talk. We've been doing PEG Talks at our Democratic Women meetings for 5.5 years. But since the administration changed hands in January, we shifted from looking at historical progressive women to the women that are currently pushing back against the Trump administration and leading the resistance to the Trump White House. If you haven't silenced your phone, take this opportunity to go ahead and do it right now. Already, we have highlighted Liz Cheney and Elizabeth Warren, but today I'd like us to take a look at the life of a woman that I just showed you her picture, who's a human dynamo, a tireless champion of the working class, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Got some fans here. She had me at rhetorical impretzelment. I will never forget that moment. It was late 2018 or 2019, and as I so often do, tell me that you're guilty of this too. I had a news show on in the background in the house, and I was half listening to it as I was going around doing stuff. And I heard the commentator ask a new young representative what she thought about the Republican Party's upcoming legislation. And her answer that day is what I will never forget. She said, well, I'm going to pop some popcorn and enjoy watching the GOP's rhetorical impretzelment as they try to explain how these cuts to people's vital program fits with their so-called party of family values. And I remember thinking, as I swung around to look at the TV, who is that? And I have been fascinated with her ever since. On October 13th, 1989, a young Puerto Rican couple living in the Bronx had their first child, and they named her Alexandria. Her father, named Sergio Ocasio-Roman, was born in the Bronx and became an architect. Her mother, Blanco Ocasio-Cortez, was born and raised in Puerto Rico. The couple met when Sergio went back for a visit with extended family in Puerto Rico, and back in the Bronx now living. After their baby daughter was born, the young couple soon had another child, a boy that they named Gabriel. And by that way, that younger brother of Alexandria is now a musician and an artist and an estate agent. The family lived in an apartment in Bronx until Alexandria was 5 years old, and they were able to finally move to a small home in Yorktown Heights. Their priority was the same as so many young American couples. They wanted better schools for their kids as they entered the school system. Blanco worked as a house cleaner in town in their new home. Sandy Ocasio, that was her nickname in high school and college, was very bright. She placed in the Science and Engineering Fair in 2007, and MIT Lincoln Laboratory was so appreciative of the research she did in 2007, get this, that they named a small asteroid after her. 23238, Ocasio-Cortez. It's there. And she is kind of an asteroid, isn't she? She was also very active in the National Hispanic Institute's youth legislative session, and she was recognized by being granted a fellowship at Boston University. After she graduated from high school in 2007 and started her college work at Boston University, Alexandria's family was dealt a huge blow. Her father died of lung cancer her sophomore year of college in 2008. She was 19 when she was given the task of guiding his estate through probate. And she still talks about how much she learned then about attorneys enriching themselves at the expense of a struggling family when a family member dies. She also interned for Senator Ted Kennedy. She was the only Spanish speaker in his office, and the bulk of his work with Spanish-speaking constituents fell to her. But in spite of all of her personal struggles, she graduated cum laude from Boston University in 2011 with a bachelor's degree in international relations and economics. But by now, her mother was fighting foreclosure on their home. So Alexandria moved back to the Bronx after college and took a job as a bartender and a waitress. Her mother was cleaning houses and driving school buses, desperately trying to hold on to that house. Eventually, her mother sold the house, and her mother and grandmother moved to Florida to get cheaper living costs because they could sell so high in New York. And while she worked to bring in money for their family, Alexandria also worked for the nonprofit National Hispanic Institute. And then she signed on to help someone. She signed on to help Bernie Sanders in 2016 in his presidential primary campaign. Did you ever wonder how they knew each other so well? I did. This is why. After the election was over, and of course Bernie wasn't the candidate, she kept traveling across America by car. She went to Flint, Michigan. She went to the Standing Rock Indian Reservation in North Dakota, and she talked with the people there dealing with the Flint water crisis and the Dakota Access Pipeline. And she says to this day that it was her visit to the Standing Rock Reservation in December of 2016 that was a tipping point for her as a person, because she saw clearly that these Native Americans were putting their whole lives and everything they had on the line to protect their communities. And she vowed to go home and do the same. She was soon connected to the Democratic Socialists of America, and she became inspired to run a campaign of her own in the Bronx. Listen up, Ashley. She started in April of 2017. She operated out of a grocery bag hidden behind the bar of Flat's Fix. That was the bar that she was bartending and waiting tables at. She had the audacity to challenge the powerful Democratic caucus chair, Joe Crowley, in the primary. He had loads of money. He was the caucus chair. Her tactic, she said, quote, "You really can't beat big money with more money. You have to beat them with a totally different game." And she completely refused to take corporate donations and went entirely grassroots. Well, she ended up with the endorsement of MoveOn.org and Democracy for America, but Governor Andrew Cuomo, Chuck Schumer, Kirsten Gillibrand, they stuck with Joe Crowley. He was the man they knew. She did not let it stop her. She went full steam ahead, and she defeated this 10-term incumbent with all the power brokers behind him by 15 percentage points. That election, that primary election, was a shock felt around the nation. She was outspent 18-1, but she emerged the decisive winner. And she went on to be endorsed by Barack Obama and Bernie Sanders in the fall general election. And she won the general election, her first race, with 78% of the vote. She was a leader in that midterm Democratic sweep. Do you remember it? In 2018, the House picked up 41 Democratic seats. Well, by now, the nation was starting to pay attention to this woman. Michael Moore featured her primary campaign in his 2018 documentary, Fahrenheit 9/11. When someone dug up a dance video of her days at Boston University, anyone remember this? She responded by posting a video of herself dancing outside of her congressional office. Elizabeth Warren stepped in and wrote her entry in 2019's Time 100 Powerful People of the Year. Unsurprisingly, she won again in 2020, she won again in 2022, and again in 2024, easily. So here she is. She's the youngest woman to ever serve in the U.S. Congress. She took office at age 29. Her skills at social media were so terrific that as soon as she got there, her colleagues asked her to give them social media lessons. She has been a loud and persistent voice for climate change legislation. When she made her first speech on the floor of Congress in 2019, the video of that speech was the most watched Twitter video ever made of a House of Representatives speech. Her skills at congressional hearings are already legendary. Some of us were watching this live. I remember it clearly. It was AOC who pulled the information out of Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer, about Trump inflating his property values for bank and insurance purposes. And it was that exchange between her questioning him that prompted New York Attorney General Letitia James to launch a financial fraud investigation into his companies. And the results of that were the $354 million fine that was levied and a 2 to 3 year ban on the Trump organization doing business in New York. All of that came out of her questioning in that committee hearing. By now, she's one of the most talked about politicians in our country at the ripe old age of 35. She has also generated more fake media coverage than almost anyone else. Vogue magazine did an interview with her and they asked her about her use of red lipstick. And AOC answered that beauty and femininity are important to her because those are the things that are often used against women in politics and society. And she said, I embrace it as a mini protest against misogyny. And protest she does. She went to the 2021 Met Gala in an organza gown. Right across the front, it was emblazoned with "Tax the Rich." She was an original member of the informal group of progressive women in Congress called the Squad. Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib originally competed the group. And on July 14, 2019, 6 years ago now, Trump attacked the Squad by saying they should go back and help fix the countries they came from instead of criticizing the U.S. government. Well, 3 of 4 of those women were born in the USA. And AOC just hit back immediately, saying, the president's words telling 4 American congresswomen to go back to your own country is hallmark language of white supremacists. We don't leave the things that we love. And when we love this country, what that means is that we propose the solutions to fix it. By now, today, the Squad has grown to 9 members. It's no surprise that her first piece of legislation was the Green New Deal, submitted in February of 2019. Activist groups signed on to support it right away. No Republicans supported it. She organized fundraisers to support the Texans during that horrific 2021 Texas power crisis. She introduced a bill to provide postal banking to low-income and rural neighborhoods. She co-sponsored a bill to bar congressional members from owning or trading stocks. She co-led the Defiance Act, which allows people to go ahead and sue the creators of deep fake pornography that's made of themselves. And she and Jamie Raskin introduced the High Court Gift Ban Act to impose restrictions on gifts to justices. She co-sponsored articles of impeachment against Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito. And just this year, We all saw it, didn't we? She joined her old friend Bernie Sanders in a defiant cross-country tour called the Fighting Oligarchy Tour, opposing Trump's policies all across our land, going to those areas that were deep red to tell people they were heard. She has become increasingly viewed as maybe a possible successor to Sanders and a candidate for the 2028 presidential election. In the first quarter of this year, she raised $9.6 million with average donations of $21. She once answered a question about that, about her presidential aspirations, by saying, well, I hold two contradictory things in mind at the same time. One is just the relentless belief that anything is possible. But at the same time, my experience here has given me a front row seat to how deeply and unconsciously, as well as consciously, so many people in this country hate women. And they hate women of color. It's not just the right wing. Misogyny transcends political ideology, left, right, and center. She still identifies strongly as Puerto Rican American. She has extended family in Puerto Rico and proudly advocates for their island. And she is fiercely protective of her private life. She's Catholic in faith, and she's been in a relationship since college days with Riley Roberts, who is a web developer and a consultant to tech startups. They met, she says, laughing in true nerdy fashion, they met at a Friday talk by the dean at Boston University in their college days. They became engaged in April of 2022 when they went back for a visit to Puerto Rico. She's a fan of the New York Yankees. We won't hold that against her. And she loves her pet French bulldog, Deco, who she named after the Art Deco movement. And no surprise, she has been listed as one of the least wealthy members of Congress. Her maximum net worth in 2021 was $30,000. Wow. Her quotes are legendary. I'm just going to share two. First one is, change takes courage. Second one is, hope is not something that you have. Hope is something that you create with your actions. Hope is contagious. Other people start acting in a way that has more hope. She's an inspiration. She's an example to us. And she's absolutely right. Hope is something that we can create here in Catawba County with our actions. Hope is contagious. And yes, it takes courage. But if a 28-year-old girl in the Bronx who is supporting her widowed mother can dream big and step outside of her lane to work hard and lead our nation to question our priorities, then we can follow her example. We can band together, we can get tired together, and we can keep on working for change. We've got it.